Okay, so I got a lot of requests asking me to talk more about the details in S686. So yeah, even though we're all referring to this and they are referring to it as the bill to ban TikTok, it is way deeper than that. And the reason that they want us to believe that this is just about TikTok is because everybody outside of TikTok is going to be like, well, I don't care if they ban TikTok. However, what's actually in this bill is far more expansive than just about TikTok. This bill gives the government broad access to wireless local area networks, mobile networks, basically almost anything. They can have access to your router, go in and see all of the sites that you visited, all of that kind of stuff, and gaming networks, everything else. Broad, expansive access to your personal communications or anyone with any person or company owned by anything to do with, let's see, China, Cuba, Iran, Venezuela, Russia, whatever. And they can add countries to this list anytime. Now, this applies to any company that has sold more than 1 million products or any platform with more than 1 million users. And it gives them the ability to not only prosecute people that they say have nefarious intentions, being subversive to the government, and it also gives them the ability to ban any of those platforms that they deem to be a threat. Now, this kind of law absolutely tramples on our First Amendment rights. We have a freedom of speech and we have freedom to peacefully assemble. And as you guys all know, that is how we assemble nowadays. It's not, in town squares so much as it is on the internet. This is also the Fourth Amendment, right? Unreasonable search and seizure without warrant. And so that it gives the government access to basically, without a warrant, go in and do anything that they want in terms of looking at your information, collecting and gathering that. So you can also argue that this infringes on our Fifth Amendment right, which gives us due process. And again, we've seen this before. During the Vietnam War, right, as we got into the late stages of the war, around the 70s, this war had been going on for a really long time and people were really fed up and they were protesting. And of course, a lot was going on around this time in terms of women's liberation, as well as civil rights protests with Black people. So what did the government do to get rid of those voices? Look at this timing, right? 1971 is when the war on drugs, that term was coined. Because all of a sudden that gave them a legal way to start putting a bunch of hippies and Black people in prison, the troublemakers. So the government's never going to come straight out and tell you what it's doing. And these people are not dumb. I know we all laughed at the Wi-Fi questions and stuff, but these people are not dumb. They are calculated. Yes, they are totally disconnected from us in terms of their reality. And they are also in an environment which is endemic with corruption. So that kind of stuff is business as usual to them. It's about money, power, and control. So what I'm saying is that, of course, they are always going to try and advertise this in ways that marginalize or minimize what they're actually doing. This is an attack on our rights, our civil rights as Americans. So this bill, the Restrict Act, is about finding a way to minimize and marginalize these dissenters, put them in prison, take their property. And with the high number of small businesses that we see here on TikTok, again, they see us as a threat. But how many of you have done business in China? Bought stuff from China, right? Probably something. And more importantly, if they actually were concerned with the data security of Americans, they would be making laws that apply to all companies operating in the United States to protect our privacy and data. That's not what they're doing. They will always use safety and security and try to utilize fear to control the American public. So that's what I want everybody to remain focused on is this legislation that is fundamentally attacking our civil liberties. Everything else is distraction.